All right, welcome to take two of the Expected Buffalo podcast. The first one, only a select few will really know the origin story of the background and the workings of that. But we are back for a second run at it here. I think I figured out what the issue is, so hopefully the video itself stays and we are good to go from here on out. But let me not forget this time. Of course, let me jump right into our sponsors. One Pie Pizza, onepiepizza.com, 2185 Clinton Street in West Seneca, open daily from 9 to 8. And then Hiller Comerford, hillercomerford.com, 1-866-HILLER-LAW for your local personal and injury disability go-to. All right, so I'm not going to give the whole background story again. We're just going to kind of get right into what I was talking about. So I'll rehash that a little bit and reset because admittedly I was a little bit distracted about the poor video quality that was occurring, and I figured out StreamYard with their fancy new tools they're doing was messing that up. So we've eliminated that and we're back to where we should be. What I was going through is the situation that the Sabres find themselves in now and how it's difficult to truly evaluate to a certain degree on how you want to take this team. As I was saying, of course, the goal and the objective was to be a playoff team, and we're still only 15 games in, and that should be the focus, and that should be where they're trying to get to. But you also have to be real, and you have to understand the direction this team is headed with their front office and the decisions that will need to be made with contracts expiring and the player decisions to be made, such as Alex Tuch. Other guys, depending if they want to stay or don't want to stay, and some other contracts that are up too. So what I was getting at is what I am trying to focus on, while understanding wins, of course, are important and you want that. And we're going to get into that a little bit, talking about how we're going to stay afloat here and ways to do so. That really I'm going to try to pull specific players out, or specific situations that I want to look at, not just for this season, but also I think moving forward, because, you have to be real with where you are. And it's a difficult journey to climb for any team, to go through this much. The laundry list of players that have missed at least a game from illness or injury is pretty wild. And the list still to this day. I mean, you have Rasmus Dahlin, who is away, and all the best to him and his fiance, and hopefully he gets that all right and mentally resets and comes back here in the near future. But of course, he should take however long he needs, because you could tell clearly he wasn't focused, and nobody could really blame him for that. I wouldn't be either. And that's a difficult situation to really play through. I couldn't even honestly imagine that. So all the best to him. But beyond that, then you have Benson, who is still out longer than they expected, still not practicing. You have Kulik, who has the blood clots, is going to miss a lot of time. That's super scary. So all the best to him. And Jason Zucker, who is still very sick, apparently, from what Lindy Ruff told WGR. Hasn't eaten solid food in 9 days. That sounds insane, to be going through that. So hopefully he starts to turn around a little bit here. It's nuts. And really, I don't even know what they could do. I mean, the obvious thing you'd want to say is make a trade, do something, try to get some help for your team now. But really, I don't know what's out there. What could Kevin Adams even go do that is going to make a significant of enough impact to deal with this many injuries and, players missing out of your lineup? I don't know. I mean, there's, I wrote down a few things, talking about this, like Chinnikov obviously is Columbus has been, out there for a little bit. His trade request, but that hasn't happened yet, which I don't know. Is that ever going to happen for Columbus? And the Blues said they're open for business, but really, Jordan Kyrou, of course, and we know the Blues and Sabres have been tied on Bo Byram from the offseason, but Kyrou now has that no move clause, so that makes things difficult. Are the Sabres truly interested in that player? That is, something I've heard a little bit on both sides of it, so I'm not quite sure. The Flames, there's some talk about their players, but sometimes yes, sometimes no. And, we saw this last year when we were all clamoring when there wasn't all these injuries for the general manager to do something to get that extra forward or that extra player they need. And it's difficult. Just teams don't make trades like this early in the season. I mean, we're not even to the quarter mark yet. It's only 15 games. Teams are still trying to get a good handle on what they have before they consider moving players or moving pieces. And as I said at the beginning of this, there's nobody really out there that realistically can be that can make an impact enough that just all these injuries are not going to matter. And I hate to say, like, you just have to try to get by with what you have, but I think you probably just got to try to get by with what you have. Because the other part of it, as I sit here with a general manager who has his contract expiring at the end of the season, do I want him trading assets away to go get something to make a desperation move? It's tough because on one hand, like, yeah, you're trying to be a playoff team this year, so you want to do that. On the other hand, I don't want the next general manager, whoever that might be, whether it's Yarmer or somebody else, to have one less asset or have another player that isn't that good on their roster to deal with because the current general manager, who's hanging on by a thread essentially, went and did a desperation move. I would just almost, and maybe it's the mood I'm in, and this is the mood I'm in tonight, I would almost just prefer that he doesn't, and we just try to stay afloat. And maybe slowly you get some guys back. Maybe Benson by next week. Maybe Zucker the week after that. Maybe you can get Josh Norris at some point in the end of November, early December. He's skating again. Dahlin, who knows, but maybe that's only a couple weeks and you start to go and build your roster back up. Well, of course, keeping your fingers crossed there are no other injuries of significance to your roster. Yeah, and that's probably not something that a lot of people are going to agree with. And I understand that. You want to see life out of this general manager. And that's a fair argument. It's just, it's tough for me to get there because it's the quality of player that could be impactful, as I've said a few times now, just isn't going to be there. So that's where I stand on the trade aspect of it. I wouldn't obviously kill him if he does something because, he essentially can't just sit on his hands to a degree. But, we'll see because he has just sat in his hands before, so that wouldn't be out of character for him at this point. So moving beyond that, how do they stay afloat here? I kind of blended my two categories in there, but we'll start this next topic here. Basically, I have of staying afloat. How do they do it? So we talked about the trade aspect of it. Now it's what you currently have. How do you stay afloat? And I think I'll start with the defense. That is the healthiest group outside of Dahlin, of course, which is a massive piece. But you still have Owen Power. You still have Matthias Samuelsson, who's playing well. Connor Timmins, who's playing well. Michael Kesselring is back. I don't know if I'd say playing well. Then you have Bowen Byram still, who I would definitely not say is playing well. He might have been the primary reason that they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday with that absolutely dreadful performance that he put together. But still, I think you have to lean on your blue line here as the healthiest group for the most part. And in particular, I think you got to lean on Owen Power and Matthias Samuelsson. I wrote the article about it today, and I'm not going to get into the whole Owen Power thing here because that can be all nutty and crazy and whatever. But I think for me, while you don't want to see a player of Dahlin's caliber off the roster, of course, I think this is a great opportunity for this team, for the fan base, for myself, to really get a evaluation of Owen Power. he should step up now as the unquestioned top pair defenseman on this team with Dahlin being gone. And I think they should fully lean into that. And I'm not just talking about a 5-on-5. I'm talking about in the power play. I'm talking about in the penalty kill. Lean into it. See what you have there. Use it. You don't want to say using it as experimenting, because that signifies that you're throwing in the towel, which I don't believe they are. But still, get yourself an answer. Understand what exactly you have here in this player. And, Saturday was a good start for him. I thought he played well. He moved the puck pretty well. He got up in the play more. And, overall, I thought it was one of his stronger games this season. And it's been very up and down for him. As a power defender, I openly admitted, has been very up and down. The game I was at, the Blues game where they got shut out, that might have been the most disappointing point I'd been with power watching him play. I just being there, and I really keyed on him. I don't know. I don't want to say he wasn't engaged. Just there was a lot of mental mistakes. It wasn't clean. His passing wasn't good. I thought he was hesitant to pucks in the defensive zone, and it showed at times. But like I said, it was a good rebound game after that. And I think now he needs to build on that. It's consistency, right? You can't have a good game, bad game, good, bad, bad, good, bad. Like you got to build and get to that point now. You're 22, turning 23 years old. You've been in this league for a few years. You're a former first overall pick. While you're never going to be, Rasmus Dahlin level, of course, you got to take that step this year. And we know what his offensive game is, and that's always going to be there. And right now, the on-ice shooting percentage isn't great, so his goal differential is down, but it is climbing. It is coming back. But we need to see that defense get a little bit better. And, I think there are some aspects that are improving. I think he's getting a little bit more physical on the wall. I think he's engaging more on the walls and behind the net. Still around the net, I think there's work to be done there. It seems like he's more often in the right spot, but now it's using your body position. It's putting your stick in the right spot to box the guy out, to prevent them from getting a rebound. Again, I think it's getting better. He's one of the lowest goals against on 5-on-5 players, on ice goals against on the team. So, that can be some save percentage mixed in there too. But still, I think it's a sign that there's improving. There's still ways to go, and there's still work that needs to be done there for him to reach his maximum potential that I think he can. But this is the chance. Play him the minutes, get him the difficult situations, match him up against the opponent's top line, and just see how it goes. See how it goes. Get an idea, get an answer, not only for, team building of knowing what this player can and can't handle, but also, again, it's decision-making on a few guys. I would say power is in a different tier when it comes to that, but still, it's somebody you can have an idea if, you want to do something else with him, let's say, down the road. If you don't think he can handle it, or he shows he can't handle this, or it's too big for him, and then those are then conversations and information that you could take moving forward to put a better roster on the ice. And when it comes to Matthias Samuelsson, he full credit for how much that I have, and many have kicked him around, essentially said that he doesn't have it anymore. The injury thing is still there, but he's a different player than he's been the last couple of years. He's confident. He's defending better. He's making better decisions with the puck on exits, which is something he's never really done his entire career. Even when he was playing well, the exit decisions are better. So, again, it seems like from practice, they're going to put Samuelsson and Power together, and that is going to be your top pair, which gives me a little bit of an anxiety because you're banking on Connor Timmins being real away from Power, and then he's going to play with Bo Byron, which is, and then Kesselring and Bryson being your third pair, which, maybe it's a conversation for another day, but the Kesselring thing is getting pretty confusing at this point. It's third pair minutes. He was supposed to play with Dahlin, but that's never happened yet. So that's an odd situation, but we'll save that one, for another day. But yeah, I think you really got to lean into your blue line. You really got to lean into your defense, and those two players, Power and Samuelsson in particular, are the two that need to step up and try to drag this team to the best of their ability through this for, a couple of weeks at the very least to see if you can put some points together, staying in it. So when you start to get healthy, you're not looking at a 10, 11 point hole you're looking at a 5-6 point hole. It's manageable essentially, where if you're in double digits, like, forget it. With how close this conference is and the way things have been going, it would be difficult to climb for that type of hole. The other area that I think needs to be better is the power play. And I don't know if it's ever going to be. I mean, the penalty kill is doing its job. First in the league still, 89%. That's good, great, excellent. The power play, though, after a couple weeks where it looked better, it looked like it was turning a corner, it's a mess. It is a mess. They are now down to 25th in the league going into action tonight. 25th ranked power play in the league. They were like 7th 2.5 weeks ago. They've fallen that hard. And it's a lot of the same stuff from last year. It's Dahlin and Tage just shooting from the outside. There's not a lot to the middle of the ice, which is where they're finding their success. There is standing around again. The entries are just terrible. There's no organization. There's no plan, it seems. Like, every team in the league does the drop back pass. And I know that's a hot topic for people, but the way they do it is ridiculous. I mean, there were at least 3 times in multiple games last week where guys are at the blue line and they're dropping it back to beyond center ice. Like, you're already in the zone and then you're off sides and it doesn't work because then your guy coming with speed has to stop and circle back, and it's just a mess. And the entries and the setups were a mess last year too, and they're the same. And that is a direct reflection on Seth Appert. That is a direct reflection on Lindy Ruff. It is unacceptable. The same issues that we saw last season are there again. When there was talk of changes and there was talk of doing things different and working on things, it's the same. It is the same problems. And that was cool for a couple weeks when he did things different, when Zach Benson was in the lineup and Josh Doan was able to be impactful and get pucks and, retrievals, and they were working below the net and they were causing chaos around the net. That shit just went away. Coincidentally, perhaps it went away when Benson got hurt. And, in the article I wrote, was late last week, go check that out. At the scoring article I wrote, go look at the numbers in there of the team with and without Benson. It is stark and not good. They need him back quickly and in the worst way possible, because the numbers indicate that he is extremely impactful for what they want to do. Not only a 5-on-5, but their power play too. They might have changed now, but the time I wrote that article, they had no power play goals when Benson was not in the lineup. And I think it was over, I think it was a 12.24 goals for per 60 minutes in the power play when he did dress. Stark, drastic. So they need to get him back. But in the meantime, you got to try something. And I don't love Byram getting the power play 1 opportunities, and so be it. If that's what they're going to do, I think Power should get that, as I mentioned, leaning into him fully as your number 1 defenseman. I just think he's a better power play player. The numbers dictate that throughout their careers between Power and Byram. That was in the article I wrote today. Almost everything favors Power when you look at it over the last 3 years, but it doesn't really matter personnel to me to a degree. It's something has to be different. And I sit here and what's going to be different? What is going to be different? There's no reason for me to believe that the head coach or Seth Appert is going to do anything different. They haven't for a year in 15 games now. So there's no reason to believe that it would be different. And without that, this team is going to have a hard time scoring at 5-on-5 with the roster they have right now. And if they have a dreadful power play on top of it, You're going to have to try to win games 2-1. Maybe you get lucky in 3-2. Your next two opponents, that's not a helpful strategy. Although, coincidentally enough, the Utah game a week ago, that was a 2-1 game. But that's a high-scoring team. It's going to be difficult to keep that low. Colorado is definitely a high-scoring team, and they're rolling right now. I forgot who they just put 9 goals on. Was it Edmonton the other night? They won 9-1 or something. McKinnon is having an insane season again. You're going to beat that team 2-1 in a low-scoring game, low-event game? No shot. And without that power play, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult to stay afloat. So again, you need a 1 week, 2 week bender that they had a couple weeks ago to hopefully drag you through here. But I'm not confident in it. And the last thing I was going to call out is the goaltenders. What is the formula for stealing points in games? Is your goaltenders play well. They have 3 of them. Lyon, he's been inconsistent as of late. It seems like it goes good game, bad game, good game, bad game. That's kind of Alex Lyon's career, though. Yeah. So, you maybe get some more good than bad there, and you draw that out. And, Luukkonen, outside the Capitals game when he played well, and his other 2 games have been bad. He was really bad against St. Louis. He was bad against Toronto. And again, he was decent against the Capitals. No, I'm going to say decent. He was good. He was good against the Capitals. Give him marks. He won them that game with the saves he made in the shootout. So I don't want to take that away from him. He did do that. Those other 2 games just straight aren't good enough. And now it's going to be Colton Ellis. We'll see. He's going to play on this trip, Lindy Ruff said. We'll see what game it is, whether it's Utah, Colorado, or Detroit. I have some anxiety for the kid that it's going to be the Avalanche game. Back to back in that building, you're going to put him up heavy test against that team. So it's the game, good luck, buddy. But if he plays well there, then, well, maybe he gets in the rotation more. It's kind of crazy to me that he's only gotten that 1 game that he looked good. There was some over pursuing of pucks, and I thought looked a little hectic at times, but that could have been adrenaline of your first game and all of that. But overall, he made the saves he had to make, and he looked good. Especially at the end, he had that 1 huge save, and then they went down and put the game away. So I'm glad he's going to get another opportunity, and we get to get a look at what he is. And, hopefully you find one. Find one of them, get hot for a couple weeks, and just hopefully you can ride it. And that's the formula. You're going to break it down into chunks. If you look at these next 3 games, Utah, Colorado, Detroit on Wednesday, Thursday, and then Detroit is Saturday. 3 out of 6 is what I ask. Give me half of the points, and I'll be happy. That's a win and an overtime loss in one of those games. You get 4 out of 6, I'll be ecstatic. You get 6 out of 6, we're doing backflips here, but I'm not going to get nuts. But I think 3 out of 6 is my goal. Steal me a game in one of those. Get me to overtime in another. It seems very clear this team can't win an overtime game anyways. But just get me there, grind your way to it, and I'll be happy. And then after that, you have a chance to reset yourself, and you have a 4-game homestand. Now, it's not the easiest 4-game homestand. That features matchups against Edmonton, who's struggling right now, but still a good team. Carolina is always a difficult matchup for the Sabres. Chicago is playing decent right now. And then Calgary, I believe, is the other team. I'm not quite sure the order, but I believe those are your 4 teams on that homestand. But this team has played well at home. So, get 3 out of 6, and then you come home for 4. Maybe you can get 5 out of 8 there. Maybe I'm pushing it unless you have some guys back, and then, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 8, and you got. We're just trying to stay afloat here. That is the objective. That is the goal. We're not trying to win more than we lose, which again, that is what you would love to do, but realistically understand the situation that they're in. Stay afloat. Stay in it. Stay within yelling distance. So when hopefully the cavalry gets back, you can try to make a run. Because when this team is healthy, they look decent. They look like an okay hockey team. I'm not going to say they're great by any means, but an okay team that could get on a run and win a few games and climb back into it if they're not too far out of it. Stay afloat. Maybe that should have been this podcast was called Stay Afloat. That is the objective here, and whatever means necessary to do that. Sabres After Dark is back this week, so that's exciting. I like the night games. I'm one of those people that stay up late almost every day of the week. So having games at night, the kids are asleep, I can just solely focus on those games. I like those ones more because then I could really get in the notes that I'm taking and really take some things away from that. So the night games are fun to me. The next morning they're not, and 9 o'clock games are doable. It's those 10 o'clock, 10:30 games in Los Angeles that are just like the second period is starting at I don't know, midnight or halfway the second period's midnight, and that's ridiculous. I'm really gonna try, and I caught myself Saturday in the Expected Buffalo Discord. I was pretty snarky and snipey on a few things, but I'm gonna try to maintain the best positive mood here going forward to kind of wrap it up. As they say when they teach you how to do a podcast. I never did a podcast class, I'm just saying that, but it's said you should take the beginning and tie it into the end, and that's what we're going to do here. What I said in the beginning of this is understanding the situation that they're in and understanding where this franchise is headed with their front office situation is try to pull out the pieces that are important, the pieces that are going to be in the future to help you make decisions. Can Thompson turn it around? Can Power step up and be a top pair defenseman or really make that one overall pick show and make more people besides, the ones like me believe in it? Can Noah Ostlund or Isak Rosen step in? Can they be full-time NHL players? Can they be impactful players? Can Josh Doan keep going? Can McLeod step up? Can Alex Tuck, hit the net more maybe? Can Kesselring turn it around and play better than how he's played this season? All of those things are things that I'm going to be looking for, among more too, as we keep going here. So it's not the best of times. It's not the best outlook if we're being realistic on where this team stands right now. But we'll try to make the best out of it still. That's what we do here at Expected Buffalo. For the last 5 years, the site's been in existence. Since I've been covering this team, I think this is year 9. We try to make the best of it the best we can, have good conversations, and, talk hockey without trying to hit each other with pool noodles all the time. That's what we're going to do. And I see one of the comments here is, wishing we do this on YouTube more. We're back to it now. These will almost every single one be live now. At least maybe not live, but there will be video associated with it. Doing a live one always, I'm not in the best mood. I mean, I'm cold down here. I got my, some of those people might know the lore of the Bills robe, but I have the Bills robe on, and we're down here grinding through with Christmas decorations behind me. And then once that is gone, you'll see the rest of the new setup that you really can't see behind me. Will be in play. You got Alex Tuck there. You got the really cool Sabres hat, which I can't point to it over here. There's nothing for people who are listening to the audio. And then you have the Grills Mafia up there. Gotta represent Grills Mafia in this podcast too. So thanks for listening. I appreciate you doing so. I appreciate the over 600 of you or 500 that tuned in, still having the faith to talk about this crazy and frustrating hockey team with me. And we will talk again very soon. See ya.